Okie doke. We took a little time off in order to review our own work and review some other work. Alright, we come to the decision that we just need to define our terms a little better. So we came up with what's gonna be a few video sets of what basically roundabout is going to pertain to key, mode, scale, and chord. Or at least that's going to be the main format for these upcoming set of videos. And this lesson, we're going to dedicate to scale. And we are particularly the minor scales. And one thing I noticed whenever watching a lot of other people's videos is a lot of people, a lot of other musicians, they like to see things in scale. They like to see things through the eyes of scale. I don't. I'm not a solo guitarist. I create rhythms more than anything else. So mostly what I focus in on is what my key is doing and what my chords are doing. I'm particular about mode. I mean, I know what my start points are. I don't really think of it in terms of Ionian, Dorian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Phrygian, Aeolian, and Locrian. I think of it more in terms of the letters and the numbers. But it's still a form of mode. And of course we can pull our scales out of each mode. Infinite scales out of infinite modes, whatever your start position is, whatever your key formula is. But that's what we're gonna get into. And that's what we've been doing. What we're mostly talking about is what the main alteration is to the key formula, and we're going to use the minor scales in order to examine this. So let's get into the lesson. So we got the C minor scale, which I've got a note here. C minor, good with E flat major. It is the Aeolian position for the E flat major key. And also you're going to ask me, okay, key, whenever you talk about altering the key formula, well, you can only write in a major key. Well, yeah, that's true, but whenever you're in a major key and you see, the first thing you see is a flat 3 show up, it's a pretty good indication you're no longer in a major key. There has been an alteration to the formula. That flat 3 is showing you that, hey, your key is minor. And the C minor scale is no longer going to work and be perfect in that key. In that case, you're going to have to go to a melodic minor scale. But we'll get into that. Let's start with the C minor scale. C minor scale is going to be C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, and C. Again, that's C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, and back to C. Alright, next up we have the C Harmonic Minor. Now, the C Harmonic Minor, I have a note here, is good with the E flat Augmented Scale, or E flat Augmented Key. it lines up with it. It is a positioning off the E flat augmented key. Augmented being a +5 note, and that's how our key formula is being changed. It's a normal E flat key, except for that 5 position is altered. And the C Harmonic Minor, starting from that 3, is going to be, so it's the Aeolian positioning. This is a good way to explain this. This is the Aeolian positioning for the E flat augmented key. If you're actually altering the key formula and making the song from it. And how would that look on paper? Well, you'd see a major key on paper, of course, but in the 5 position, you're gonna see that 5 note sharped. That's gonna give you an idea of, okay, this is what I have to adapt my modes to. This is what I have to adapt my scales to. This is what and are there any notes added in on top of that? Because that's what I like to do. I like to take normal keys, a lot of times major, because major is the key of most resolve. We use it because it sounds best. There are reasons that those, come on, music's wavelengths. It's just a bunch of wavelengths that go together, and we're manipulating those wavelengths to sound good, making multiple harmonious sounds ring out like a G chord or a C chord or a D chord. It's just a bunch of wavelengths ringing out harmoniously. And well, whenever we change our key formula, it's always going to take us into a direction that's less harmonious. And we'll get into that with what melodic minor is and why the melodic minor is a little less harmonious, which is again the minor key, why the minor key is a little less harmonious. But I mean, you gotta understand, the minor keys formula is a whole step, a half step, 4 whole steps, and then a half step. You've got 5 whole step notes connected together. I mean, you're getting close to the 6 note whole stepper. Those 5 notes, now if you play them consecutively, let's just do it out of a D minor. I'm comfortable with that. So right there, this positioning. I mean, you've heard that show up in music before, but usually it builds back into the major, into some form of major. Usually that's the minor key is often used as a spin-off, just like many other keys are often used as a spin-off. That's kind of the way I prefer to use them. And then again, there's also adding notes, but if you're adding notes, if you're adding little chromatics and things in there, are you really changing the key that much to where you need to remember everything from all these positionings? Or does the standard, Aeolian, Dorian, 7-note positioning still work? You just have your add-ons. You still have a normal key. You just have add-ons somewhere. And of course, you can even add, you can even alt the keys enough to where you've got like a major diminished key. You're gonna have a chromatic in there. It's a 7-note key. It's still a 7-note key, but the reason we often pair diminished with minor is so we don't run into that chromatic wall. Alright, so we left off at the C Harmonic Minor. So the C Harmonic Minor is going to be a lot like E flat augmented, or E flat plus is when it would show up on paper. It's going to be that Aeolian position again. And we have our notes: C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B, and C. So last time we were flatting the 3, the 6, and the 7. This time we're just flatting the 3 and the 6, which makes up our C Harmonic Minor. And you see that, well, step and a half, 1.5 steps between the A flat note and the B note. So again, C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B, C. Yeah, that's basically your C Harmonic Minor, which would line up with the, again, E flat augmented, which would be hold on. Something like that. That's wrong. What would it be? I wish I would have wrote it down. Let me go through it. E flat, F, G, A flat, jump to B, C, D, E flat. I do believe that's it. So again, E flat, F, G, A flat, B, C, D, E flat. Same thing, just different positioning. I think that's much easier. But again, I don't have the other one written down. I had to pick that out real quick. So, we're gonna leave it at that for play with this one. Y'all can have fun with that. And how is this going to show up on paper? I mean, again, you're going to see a flat 3 in the positioning. It's a C key, but you're going to see an E flat note show up in there. Everything else is... Oh! No, with this one, it's going to be the +5 in the positioning. Alright, let's move on to the melodic minor now. With that one, we've already explained it. We explained it in the beginning of the video. It's going to be, again, if you're in the key of C, actually, you'll see a flat 3 and a flat 6. If you're in the key of E flat, you'll see a sharp 5 in your treble clef. So again, that's just how to recognize it. How to recognize it for what it is. And again, your positioning is just your scale is your positioning. You can start on any note in the key as long as you got all the notes in there. And also, don't think that we're going to get into a video soon to where we're basically running notes from a C key and leaving out a B note. Well, we're running an F key in the lead. We're running an F augmented key tied in with an F key. Actually, an F augmented key tied in with an F key to start. Moving it to a C key, dropping the F note out of the chord part, and opening up the lead to do even more crazy things. So we've got one coming up that's very interesting whenever it comes to, well, what all we try to do with an easy pattern that moves off into other chord progressions as well as other lead patterns. We got that one coming up in the Red Herring. We'll get to it soon. I believe that's the first one we're going to do whenever we get back to actually doing songs. But for now, yeah, again, the melodic minor, this is going to be your actual key of C. Or I can't think of another key that it would line up with. It's just a simple flat 3 note thrown into the key of C. So this is your key of C minor. And this is also the C Melodic Minor Scale. So the first mode position of the key of C. And it's going to be C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B, and C. All the normal notes from C, but we have an E flat in there. And I've showed you one of the inconvenient things about the minor key is you do have those 5 connected notes. Those are the right ones? No, they were not. So you do have some connected notes there. Actually, one more. Okay, that's hard from that positioning. Okay, well, let's get out of the C melodic minor. We've got that one down. C, D, just the E flat, the only alteration. F, G, A, B, C. And yeah, that's gonna be our true minor key, our C Melodic Minor Scale, first position for the C minor key. And again, if you want to do the positioning with the modes to it, just adapt it to where you're flatting the 3 note in the key of C. Adapt it to where that E flat note is showing up. And even from the from that 3rd mode, from the what is it, Aeolian, Dorian, Lydian. Even from the Lydian mode, we're going to be starting on that flat 3 note. So we're going to be starting on that E flat. Again, I don't have that written down. I'm just trying to play through it. All right. at any position, any position, you're just adding, instead of going to an E note, you're going to be going to an E flat. Everything else about it is the key of C. It's just that flat third. And that's what we mean whenever we say the key of C. We're altering that third position. We're flatting it. Okay, let's say we have the key of C, but we're also going to not only do this key of C minor, but we're going to go ahead and do a diminished minor. What's it going to show up looking like on paper if we're in the key of C? Well, if we're in the C, the key of C, it's going to show up on paper as a flat 3 note and a flat 5 note. What's this going to look like? I do have this one written down. We're prepared for this one. It's going to look like a C, D, E flat, F, G flat. That's where that flat 5 comes in. A, B, C. Okay, so little example, diminished minor, what it sounds like. Okay, I mentioned diminished major and how it picks up a chromatic in a 7 note. Well, what that does with the major key, it would be just C major key, but we're gonna go ahead and not flat the 3. It's just gonna be a flat 5. So check it out. We've got the C, D, E, F. It's all normal, but once we get to the F sharp, we've got that chromatic coming in between E and F sharp. We've got all those notes at our disposal. So I'm going to start it over again and get the final notes in. C, D, E, F, F sharp, A, B, and C. Alright, I'm getting off of it. I like that sound though. If I could fit it into something I could use it with, but I don't have nothing for it yet. Alright, but that's the example of what a diminished minor would look like, and then that other one, it sounds so good, but you gotta work the chromatic into whatever you're writing. And again, that's just a diminished period. Just a C diminished. But again, you got that chromatic showing up in there whenever you're working with that one. And why do you not see more songs written out of, let's say, a diminished key or a diminished minor key? Well, first off, major is the key of most resolve. It's the key that you're, well, I know I like to constantly work out of and then come back to. I like to make my alterations, usually through chromatics personally, adding notes in, taking notes out. That's my favorite way of altering formulas. You still have your major key to go back to start with here and go back to. But altering into these other keys, you run into the problem to where you have wonky 5 notes and you want to have your 5th chords. I mean, you just do. It's kind of a big important thing whenever it comes to creating a chord. And diminished chords, I mean, they're all right, but augmented, diminished, it doesn't sound like a major chord. It's different whenever you're picking them than whenever you're strumming them also, but it's just not the same as a major chord. It's just not the same as a major chord. To be used in certain instances, yeah, sure, but not all the time. But okay, what's the answer to this? Okay, in metal, you just play the diminished key with the standard 5 application, to where you're just lining up the 2 diminished keys over each other, wherever the 1 note, the 5 note goes, wherever the 2 note, the 6th note goes. But let's say if you're in the key of C, you got G going complementary on that 5 note, just lining up those 2 diminished keys. But again, this works great for metal. But I mean, you can make it work for, you can make it work for songwriting also. But again, it would be chord charting it, lining everything up and making sure everything sounds good together. That way, whenever you hand it over to a lead guitarist or a pianist or something like that, they understand what's going on as well. That's why I stress, just know what you're doing whenever it comes to both key, scale good too. We're just not, other channels stress that enough. We're going to focus in on key. And also, I'm not a lead guitarist, so this works best for me, key chord. Scale and mode, we're probably going to leave mostly to naming off numbered positionings or lettered positionings in chords. But it's still always going to line up to what key we're in. And again, we're going to probably do Shambhala and the minor medley early. That way, we're going to continue with the different steps formula of extreme key alting. And Pride Plus and the Red Herring are going to be no exception also. Pride Plus is a lot like what you saw with Ode to the Truff Shuff. The difference is, though, Pride Plus has stricter rules. Ode to the Truff Shuff, I was just throwing key changes in there with majors for the most part, altering between basically 3 set major keys, and then just throwing in the alt notes whenever I felt it was appropriate. No, with Pride Plus, we actually have 2 major key formulas, a D major key and a G major key, for the most part. We also get into a little C major also, but it's kind of a moving key thing, so it's different whenever we go to C. But with the D major thing and the C major thing, we're adding in their minors. Really, we were supposed to be sharp in the 2s, but that's just the concept versus what actually happened in application are not always, but for the most part, except for like the 2nd and some of the 3rd part, 2 different things. And the intros, we kept our 2 notes in there for the intros for sure. But yeah, you see two different versions of this key show up, and it's simply just plugging a 3 note into a major key, or I'm sorry, plugging the minor, plugging the flat 3 note into the major key. It just makes for just the beginning of what we're going to go through with different steps whenever it comes to actually like really altering these key formulas. But again, you've seen this before with Ewok. You've seen me plug notes, so we're going to be doing that again, at least for Pride Plus. And then for the red herring, we're going to be using simple chord progressions and doing some major key changes in the melody ends. And then we'll move on to a couple songs that are based off of just simple key formula changes with the minor medley, and then something a little more extreme with Shambhala. Those are going to be the next ones up. Alright, anything else with this? I've shown you how. Okay, let's take a song like Stray. I'm using a key of C, but I'm mixing in, well, alts that go as far as true A major. Actually, the key really begins in an A minor key, but I would write this for C, considering the notes never leave the C key. Just like I would write red herring for, I mean, it starts in the F key, but it moves on to the C key really quickly. I'd rather write that for the key of C and just show, you know, that whenever the B flat alt shows up, the B flat alt shows up. You can tell it's the key of F, and whenever it alters from there, you can figure it out. You know, I mean, it's all there. It all shows up in the sharps and flats. But Stray's no exception. That A key, whenever it alters into its A parts, for instance, the first part's starts in an A minor key, but I don't actually think an F sharp note ever shows up, but you see a C note paired with a G sharp note, which is kind of an indication of, I mean, you got that little part from the minor key poking out at you. You see the A, you see the E, you see the G, you see all these notes connect together and the chords that we're playing, and it's just, okay, A minor, start in A minor. You write it off as C, and you'll see the sharp show up in, let me get it correct here. For the key of C, it's going to be the 1, the 4, or I'm sorry, yeah, the 1, the 4, and the 5 positions. So you'll see sharps going from anywhere from your C note, your F note, or your G note. The 1, the 4, and the 5 position. Key of C, you'll see those notes get sharp from time to time. Again, as extreme as A, sometimes not so extreme. Whenever it comes to, let's say, if you were to write it in the key of A, which you wouldn't, because the low notes are keyed for the key of C. I don't believe you would maybe see that A minor thing and think, I should probably write it for A, but I think most people would choose to write that. But if somebody chose to write it for C, or for the key of A, you would see the flat notes show up in the 3, the 6, and the 7 positions, or naturalization notes Actually, they'd be naturalization notes, but you'd see those naturalization notes show up in the 3, the 6, and the 7 position. Also, sharp and flat, if we forget to say naturalization, please forgive us. You know, we mean it. If it's possible to like, let's say we're in the key of D and we move into a key of D minor. We're not flatting that F note, we're naturalizing it. And I might accidentally say flat the 3 note sometime, but you know what I mean, naturalize the F note. It's flatting the 3 note, but it's naturalizing whenever it comes to like an F sharp moving back to an F note. So yeah, just forgive me if I ever make mistakes with that. I mean well. It's just music's a lot to keep track of. It is. It's why I make mistakes, not looking at my paper more sometime and reading from the book. Alright, we're going to chalk this one up at that. I like this lesson length. I like what we've covered here. And we will get into more of this in the next video. In fact, I see the page we're going to cover. Alright, thank you again. Hope you enjoyed. Keep rocking.